Hi, good morning, everyone. I'd like to focus on something today which I suppose it doesn't behave like one would expect it to, but it's not difficult to understand. And those are guide grids. Guide grids, it's this blue object that you can see on the screen here. It's essentially a grid that guides the placement on views on sheets. Now, imagine you've got a lot of floor plans like you can see on the screen here. And you want, in each instance, you want the H1N, excuse me, the H1 grid intersection to fall on a very specific place on the page with reference to the title block. Then this is a great way to be able to achieve this. If I click on this guide grid, you'll see that it doesn't have type properties that it exposes. It's only got instance properties. And with that is a name. Now, it's not possible to switch out these guide grids one for the other. You can't go and say you want to change this name to elevation. It doesn't allow you. You can't change out the type. So if you want a new guide grid on this page, then you would have to go and place it explicitly using the guide grid command, which is part of the view tab there under the sheet composition panel. There's the guide grid user control, and this is where you can go and create a new guide grid to choose. Now, each sheet you can place a guide grid on. Here I've got two sheets with the same guide grid. And furthermore, you can see this element over here is not locked. And on this sheet over here, if I select that and filter out the guide grid, that is also not locked. If I lock one, and I select this one, you can see it's also pinned. Alright, so if you pin one of these grid lines, guide grids on a sheet and it appears on other sheets, then it's pinned on all of them. The guide grids are interesting because you can move them around and rotate them and also change the guide grid spacing. So if you want a finer resolution on how to place elements, that's one way to go about it. And it's really quite simple to use. If you have a new sheet, and you want a guide grid on there, you could then select that plan view guide grid and it places it in exactly the same position and it is pinned just like all of the others. But like I said, don't expect to be able to filter it out and change the type property there. That will not happen for you. If you need to delete that, you see you can't, it's on all the sheets. But you can switch it out once again using the user interface to get to the other type of guide grid. Or if you wanted to create a new one, there is a new guide grid. It's got these edge controls where you can resize it. You can move using an intersection, and you may even rotate. To some or other angle. And on these grids and these intersections, that is where you may align views, grids and levels to. Just like we saw with view number H1, we can move the view you can see how we can't select the ends of the walls or other geometry. However, we can select the references and move that into position on the grid. And now it's in, whoops, made a mistake there. Now it's in exactly the same place with reference to the title block as all the other views. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this short video explaining guide grids on sheets, and use them to your own advantage, especially when you've got lots of sheets that need to be placed in exactly the same place. And until next time, enjoy Reviting.